Hello guys, previously we have discussed about the traffic operations and controls. Today I would like to discuss about the lifting operations for the cranes. Minimum requirements. More one rules legal or contractual requirements shall always take precedence. Higher standards shall be adopted wherever practicable. General requirements: ensure lifting equipment, mobile and fixed cranes provided are suitable and sufficient for the tasks they are intended. So we need to make sure that the task that we are doing, your mobile or fixed cranes, is suitable and sufficient to avoid incidents. So make sure examination by qualified and competent person at the relevant specified intervals, like by the third party, inspection by the user before and every after use. Before using mobile cranes, ensure valid third party certificate is available by a relevant authority approved body. Valid third-party approved certificate for operators is available in the site. Crane is suitable for the proposed task, size, all-terrain, etc. Setting up mobile cranes. Mobile cranes shall be sited on the clear, unobstructed areas away from overhead services. So when we are doing the plan, we need to check the radius of the lift, the length of the boom length if you are using mobile cranes, to check if you have a sufficient distance or safe distance from the overhead services. Outriggers shall be fully extended. Spreader pads shall be used. So make sure that the outriggers of the mobile cranes is fully extended, because this will gain stability for the mobile cranes. So it is very important that this outrigger is fully extended. Spreader pads shall be used. So this spreader pads is the one to widen the concentration of the load on each outrigger, so that it will be stable to prevent each outrigger to sink on the ground if you are in the soil surface, or even in the concrete surface. This will distribute the concentrated load of the outriggers on the ground. Lift pads shall be considered over sailing of workers, adjacent properties, and public areas to be avoided. So when you are planning to set the mobile cranes, you need to check the direction of each lift, so that you can see if there is a workers on that the locations, and you can isolate them from the lift pad, because there's no 100% on this world. So maybe you have done every check and you have third-party certificate, but still there is a chance that the parts of the lifting accessories or the lifting crane will fail, and it will give accident to the workers below of your suspended loading. So you need to make sure that the lift pad is free from any workers to avoid oversailing for them, and including the adjacent properties. Make sure that you have sufficient distance from adjacent properties, including the public areas. Cranes shall not be sited over high incident risk underground services, HV cables, ducts, fiber optics cable, water, sewage line, etc., without prior authority approval. So when there is underground utilities, you are not allowed to site any cranes on the top of that underground services. Because that location is not really fully compacted because of the utilities on it. So you need to make sure that you have approval from the authority, and maybe they will require you to provide, if you don't have choice that for your job that you need to set up your mobile crane on that location, then you need to make a concrete slab on the top of this area, or steel plate on the top of this area, to make sure that the underground utilities will not, you are not giving any stress on the cables or ducts, fiber optics, on sewerage line on that locations. Where overhead services are present, clear barriers and signage are to be implemented, and clear communication undertaken with all concerned parties. So we need to make sure that when you have overhead services on the locations, you need to make sure that you have a good or clear communications to all parties, including the utility service owner, and you need to make sure that you have barriers as shown in the sketch on the left top corner, that to prevent you from reaching on the danger zones or safe distance from the utility services. And make sure also that you have a signages on that locations. This to remind our team that this area is prohibited. Any overlapping of the boom of the crane is prohibited. Okay, so crane will have adequate barriers implemented to avoid entry by unauthorized person. So again, barriers to be prevented on the perimeter of the lifting area of the cranes. This is to prevent any persons to enter on that location or the danger zones when you are performing the lift. When a piece of equipment, when you are transferring the equipment, when a piece of equipment is in transit with no load and boom lowered, the equivalent clearance shall be minimum of 4 feet for voltages less than 50 kilovolts, and 10 feet for voltages over 50 kilovolts, up to and including 345 kilovolts, and 16 feet for voltages up to and including 750 kilovolts. So I have the tabulation below. The power line clearance equipment in transits. Power line in kilovolts, 0 to 50 kilovolts, you should have a 40 feet clearance above. Okay, or 30 kilovolts to 345 kilovolts, you should have a 10 feet above. Okay, then if you have a 300, if the power lines is 345 kilovolts to 750 kilovolts, you should have a 6 feet clearance when you are transferring your equipment on that locations. Okay, so 0 to 50, 4 feet, 50 to 345, 10 feet. So 345 kilovolts to 750 kilovolts, 16 feet. So please bear in mind on this. And of course, this is the minimum clearance. But if you, example, in your on the power line is 0 to 50 kilovolts, and you make it 10 feet or 16 feet, there's no problem. But the minimum is 4 feet. To help plan for and eliminate power line contacts, follow this process. Survey. Locate all power lines on the job site. When you are preparing for your job, you need to locate all the power lines in coordination with your electrical department, and also check the as-built drawings, and conduct personal survey at the site, so that you will not miss any power lines in the area during the planning and before you start the job. Identify, determine which activities and equipment will be at risk of contacting a power line. So you need to check if your equipment or any activity will contact the power lines. Like for example, excavations. So there is underground utilities there, or power lines. So you can hit the power lines during excavation. Okay. So on this regards, you need to identify all these power lines and make sure that the area is isolated, so that all equipment or activities, they are aware that this location is in danger zone. And also for the equipment, so we can check the equipment, like for example, what is the height of the equipment, and they need to pass on the overhead power lines. So you can identify what is the height of the equipment, if this is complying with the minimum clearance above from the topmost parts of the equipment. Otherwise, change the equipment or don't pass on that way. Eliminate by having utility companies de-energize and visibly ground the line, or by having the power line move a safe distance away from the work, would ensure that an inadvertent contact would not occur. Okay, this elimination is sometimes is possible, but most of the time it is not possible. So because transferring or relocating utilities is also a additional cost to the projects, and also will give inconvenience to their customers, like for example waters or powers. So when you shut down the powers, if they shut down the powers to relocate the power lines, then there's no power supply on the vicinity. So their customers will file a complaint against the utility company. So this is a little bit complicated, and it's not possible all the time to happen, unless the utility company is giving instruction to you to relocate their power, provided that you already divert the power lines, or provide on the other areas to ensure continuity of power supply on the vicinity, on the locality. Controls: if the power line cannot be de-energized or moved, then take precautionary measures and have written plans. So the most important things on the written plan, because every time if you have a written plan, how to make how to avoid or to deal the power lines, the precautionary measures. If you have a written plan, it will always consistent to any shifts of your job. So like for example, when you are dealing the power lines that you cannot de-energize, your plan is to provide isolation of that power line with sufficient distance. So that means all the times, any equipment, any personnel are having safe distance from that power lines. That is one example only. Safe working clearance distance. The line clearance formula only computes the line clearance distance. It doesn't determine the safe working clearance. So that is only line clearance distance, but it's not a safe working clearance. The closest distance that you can place in a piece of equipment without crossing into the power line's buffer zone. So the safe working clearance is determined by adding a crane's farthest reach considering the extension of any load, including the lapping jib of the cranes, to the known line clearance distance. So, for example, a crane with 100-foot boom and a load that extends to 10 feet beyond is working around a power line that requires a line clearance distance of 10 feet. Okay, place the crane 120 feet from the power line. If this situation is possible, the threat of the power line contact is eliminated. So if you place the crane on 120 feet from the power line, then you have a safe working clearance distance, because the line clearance distance, as you can see in the sketch here, the line clearance distance is only from the farthest most load of the crane to the power lines. Like, for example, on our example is 10 feet. But if you have a crane, if you place them from the power lines, that is the safe working clearance distance. So you need to add what is the dimension of the crane, check if and plus the line clearance distance, and that is your working clearance distance. Seating of tower cranes. Where tower cranes are erected close to adjacent properties, public areas, etc., anti-collision system shall be considered. So actually, if you have one more crane on the sites, more than one tower cranes on the site, there is a requirement now that you need to provide anti-collision system, especially if your client or your consultants are requiring you to do this, then you need to provide it. But this is already requirements on the legislations to provide anti-collision system. This is to ensure that there is no collisions happening in the structures on the adjacent properties or by the tower cranes themselves. So when you are setting up the anti-collision system, make sure that you engage the third-party approved installer for the anti-collision system, and make sure that this anti-collision system is inspected and certified as separate certificates from the tower cranes by the third party. Tower cranes shall only be erected by trained competent persons and third-party inspected before initial use. So, for example, you erected the tower cranes. You cannot immediately use that tower cranes unless it was third-party inspected, and make sure that you have a inspection certificate from the third party. And of course, all erectors involved on the tower crane erection, they should be trained competent persons. Okay, there must be competent persons. Tower crane erection dismantling must follow approved method statement and risk assessments. So when they are erecting tower crane, make sure they have available method statement and risk assessment, and this should be approved before they can start the job. So on this method statement, you can find how they will install it safely and what are the control measures that they need to implement during the erection of the tower cranes, including the design drawings and calculations of the tower cranes are included in this MSRA. Using fixed and mobile cranes, a specific lifting plan will be raised, signed off by responsible parties, and in work area for review. So if you are using the fixed or mobile cranes, they should have a specific lifting plan, no? And make sure that the lifting plan is signed by responsible persons, and make sure it is available in the area for authorities review or any concerned persons. A designated trained lifting supervisor or rigger shall control lifting operations in direct contact via approved hand signals or radio with the crane operators. So make sure you have a dedicated lifting supervisor on your lifting operations, so that it will this supervisor will check if the operations or lifting operation is in control and in proper safe operations, and make sure that the all riggers also is competent for their job. You cannot assign only riggers for one day. You give them training now and then you will assign them to lift, to rig the lifting operation. This is unacceptable. He cannot be a competent unless he has experience and having a training on the lifting operations. And of course, he passed the examinations for rigging job from the third party. Oversailing of workers shall be avoided. Lift path designated on the crane to be adhered to. So this is the one I told already. So when you are planning to have a lifting operations or lifting or fixing a crane, so you need to identify those works and below of your lifting direction, or so that you can eliminate the presence of the workers on that locations. Otherwise, you need to stop your operations, lifting operations, or you need to remove the people on that location. So there are two controls: remove and stop. Wind speed shall be monitored and lifting stop if lifting stop if exceeding in a safe levels. So when you are doing the lifting, as a lifting supervisor, you should always check what is the current wind speed on every location of your cranes. Example, you have 5 cranes on the side. You cannot rely on only in one location to check the wind speed. So always check the maximum wind speed or safe operating speed of your crane, and also the maximum wind speed that legislations or regulations requirements, so that you are not violating the rules. Like for example, in the UAE, in the Abu Dhabi, you need to stop all the lifting operations if the wind speed is around 38 kilometer per second. Or in Dubai, you need to stop if the wind speed is reaching 39 kilometer per hour. Sorry, the unit is per hour. So when you are doing your lifting assessment, so you need to check to include the wind speed on that time when you are doing the lifting assessment, and monitor the wind speed from time to time while the work is on progress. Mobile crane jib shall be retracted. Tower crane booms left in free mode during work shutdowns. So if you are using the mobile cranes, make sure that before the end of the day, before the operator will go home, make sure that the mobile crane jibs is retracted. And if you are using the tower crane, make sure that the booms is in free wheeling mode. This is in case that there is a wind speed increase of wind speed, the boom will not collide, the tower crane booms will not collide with each other. They will just follow the direction of the wind. Crane load monitor shall never be overridden and adhered to at all times. So make sure that load monitor follow all the times when you are lifting a load. If this is exceeding on the capacity, don't or stop the operations and bring another crane if you can, or reduce your load weight so that the crane can safely lift the load without any incident or overloading. Blind lifts will not be undertaken without adequate communication methods agreed and communicated. So this is very important. Where operator cannot see all the times the load, so make sure that there is adequate communication between the operators and the riggers when they are doing the lifting operations, and make sure so all of this is communicated, including the affected work area, so that to avoid any incident. Ensure workers and riggers do not stand, walk under loads, including lifting hooks. So when we have suspended loadings, or if the crane is on a standby mode, so their lifting is suspended on the air, make sure that any workers is passing by below, or the riggers standby below on that hook or on that load. Always use taglines to control lifted materials at least 10 meter long. So it's up to you how long you will use the taglines. Taglines is a rope attached on the load so that the rigger can control the loads without touching the load. So that means the rigger is in a safe distance from the load when he is controlling the load during liftings. So any incident happening that the load will immediately fall on the ground, then the rigger is away or safe in a safe distance, and he will not be hit by the load. So here are some international hand signals. So if you see raise the hook, the load on the rigger's right, he is rotating his point finger upward, and if he want to lower the load or the hook, he is rotating his finger pointing downward. If the rigger is pointing to some on his left, using his left, that means the rigging direction going to the right, because the operator is looking to the rigger, and the left of the rigger is the right of the operator. Raise the boom at the same time. If the hand signal is on the right, that means the rig is going to the left directions, the left of the operator. Raise the boom, lapping up. So when the rigger is making the hand signal of approves on his thumbs up, then means it's raising the boom or the laughing boom up. Lower the boom down when his thumbs up is going thumbs down, and he has emergency stop or stop the hoist with his two hand signal closing the both hands. Raise the boom hook, raise the hook and lower the boom. So at the same time, when two hands is making signals, one is pointing upward, the point finger is pointing upward, rotating, and the one hand is thumbs down, then it means that the operators need to raise the hook at the same time lowering the boom for mobile cranes. Lower the hook, raise the boom. So the same technique when the one point finger is rotating downward, okay, and one thumb's finger at the same time is pointing upward, then that means lower the hook and raise the boom. So if he touch his head, use rider block, bring up or down. So the right hand stops helmet with the first left hand points up or down. This is the international hand signal. So as you can see here on the sketch here, so there are load are falling down here, and if the load is fall but the rigger in a safe distance, so that means it's a near miss. But when the rigger are under the load or the hook, it is not acceptable. Like for example, always use the tag lines where safety harness connected to the line as appropriate. So the rigger is directly controlling the load by his hand without the tag lines, and at the same time the rigger doesn't have any safety harness to prevent him from falling on the roof. So this is unacceptable. Okay guys, I hope you learned something from the lifting operations for cranes, mobile cranes and tower cranes. On our next tutorial, we will do the electrical, earthing and groundings. See you.